It's a proven fact. People panic when they play fantasy football. It happens every single year, and I really don't know why. There are grown men all over the world getting all up in their feelings when a player has a bad game on their fantasy roster. But that's why we need to do our part and take advantage of those emotional league mates. Now, every year, all year long, we preach not to give up on players too fast. You gotta give studs like 3 weeks. Remember, a lot of these guys didn't even play in the preseason, but it never fails. Every year after week 1, we see a ton of comments all over the place with people asking if they should trade away a guy they drafted in the first 4 rounds of their draft. That's why today we're going to be going through every single team, identifying some players that we need to try to trade for, some guys that we should probably watch pretty closely, and even some guys that we should think about trading away. Now, you better believe we're going to be doing trade videos like this all season long, so we can ensure ourselves that we're going to have the best roster possible to make a deep playoff run. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, do me a favor, hit the like button and leave a comment down below. I'm really going to be paying close attention to the comments on this video to see if there's any other information you guys think you need this year during your fantasy football season. But all right, let's go ahead and dive into some trades, but do not, and I repeat, do not just scroll through the video and look at the graphics and not listen to what is being said. Not only am I going to be giving reasons for players, I'm also going to be telling you how you need to approach those trade talks with your league mates. Sometimes you just got to used car salesman the out of some of these things. But all right, let's go ahead and dive into it. And let's just go about this in alphabetical order. Hopefully I actually put them in alphabetical order and didn't screw something up. If I did, don't tell me down below in the comment section. I'm old and school was a long time ago. All right, let's start it off with the Arizona Cardinals. Honestly, I'm still trading for Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, a lot of people were absolutely destroyed in week 1 because he didn't do a damn thing, and I get that. But now we've also had Kyler Murray come out with some sound bites saying, hey, listen, it's not my job to force feed him the ball. So right now, people are absolutely panicking on Marvin Harrison Jr. Now is the time to try to swoop in and maybe get him at a discount. You do not draft a wide receiver at 4th overall and just not use them all season long. But here's what's great about it. You can probably trade for him for somebody that may be your wide receiver 3 on your roster. Now, maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't kill it in 2024, but as your wide receiver 3 potentially on your team, if he does pop off, your team may be unbeatable. All right, that'll take us down to Atlanta then next, where really right now I'm just watching Drake London. I said all offseason long, I didn't want to pay that hefty price tag for him on draft day. I had too many questions. I didn't want to overhype him, and then week 1 happened, and people are starting to panic because the overall Atlanta offense just did not look that good. Now, I'm not necessarily trading for him because I want to see if this Atlanta offense can bounce back. I'm also not trading him away because you're not going to get as much in return as you had to invest on draft day. What about Baltimore? I'm actively trading for Derrick Henry. A lot of people freaking out about the King. Listen, that was a very difficult matchup in week 1. The Kansas City Chiefs are one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Plus, it was a negative game script. They were playing from behind and having to throw the ball even more. We already know that Derrick Henry is not going to be a 30-plus touch a week guy for sure. But if his floor in a bad game was still 10 fantasy points, sign me up. Don't forget, he only needs to average right around 12 fantasy points per game for the season to finish as a top 12 running back, so he's not too far off. Then we also have Mark Andrews. A lot of people scratched their head when it came to Mark Andrews because of week 1, because Isaiah Likely was definitely a thing. Now, I'm not trading for him right now because honestly, I could see Isaiah Likely having a larger role all year long. Plus, I didn't like Mark Andrews in the offseason. He was my bust in the draft guide. I'm also not going to trade him away because you're not going to get much in return for him right now, which will then bring us down to Buffalo, where I'm actively trying to go after Dalton Kincaid. Yes, week 1 was atrocious, but I'm not counting on Khalil Shakir and Mac Hollins scoring a touchdown every single week. Dalton Kincaid is going to have a larger role. He was just taken away in week 1. If somebody wants to give up on him, I'm snagging him because the tight end position was a little bit scary overall in week 1. What about the Carolina Panthers? Honestly, not a whole lot. I'll try to trade away Deontay Johnson. You may be able to go to some of your league mates and say, listen, he's still going to get peppered with targets. The Panthers are a bad team. They're going to be throwing all 4 quarters every single week. Don't tell him that all those targets are probably not going to be catchable, and the team is just going to be overall atrocious on offense. If you can get something in return, I'm all for it. For Chicago, I'm trying to go after DeAndre Swift, and this one is a little bit iffy. I would like to say that I'm going to watch him. However, with the injuries right now in Chicago to Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze, we could see a larger role in the very near future for DeAndre Swift, and if he pops off in week 2, you're not going to be able to go actively and get him because his price is going to be too high. For Cincinnati, not really interested anyway. You're not going to get anything for T. Higgins. You're not going to get anything for Jamar Chase. You're not going to get anything for Joe Burrow. You're not going to get anything for Zach Moss. I'm just not actively going after anyone there. Which will then take us to Cleveland, where I have trading away Jerome Ford. And a lot of people may be like, why are we doing that? He had a pretty decent week 1, right? Yeah. He did, and he's probably your running back, 4 on your roster. His value is going to decrease as the season progresses. Nick Chubb will come back at some point, so we need to try to find the best time to sell high on Jerome Ford. The overall Cleveland offense is not great. Deshaun Watson looks absolutely washed, so if you can get something good for Jerome Ford, don't forget about dealing him before Nick Chubb returns. Dallas, no one really on Dallas right now. We know that nobody's going to trade CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson is injured. Does Brandon Cook step up? Jalen Tolbert step up? A lot of question marks. They're not really going anywhere right there in Dallas. Then we go down to Denver, where yes, I will trade away Javonte Williams, another player I didn't love this offseason. And then we saw Jaleel McLaughlin have a very large role in this offense. It's going to be another offense that doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. So if the touchdown upside is super low and the touches are split more than 50-50, Javonte Williams should be somebody that I would want to include in a trade to try to get a better piece in return. For Detroit, go out and get Amon-Ra St. Brown if you can. People are freaking out because Jameson Williams exploded in week 1. That's not... Do you really think they're just going to go away from Amon-Ra St. Brown rest of season? No. He's going to be included in this offense all season long. Week 1 was bad. Grab him if you can. For Green Bay, after the Jordan Love injury, we're not doing any moves for Green Bay just yet. How about Houston? Not really going to do a whole lot in Houston either. Stephon Diggs' price is absolutely huge. I could say, let's sell Stephon Diggs, but that may be an absolute mistake if the dude continues to go out there and have super high touchdown upside. Then we go to the Indianapolis Colts, and I will trade away Michael Pittman. We just saw an offense that only threw the ball 19 times, and pretty soon we're going to be getting Josh Downs back as well, with Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce still in the mix with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. We may not have the same Michael Pittman this year that we've had in years past. Try to sell him before the value tanks. Then for Jacksonville, I'll still go after Christian Kirk. Now, he only had like 1 catch in week 1, but as the starting slot wide receiver for a Jacksonville offense that's going to throw the ball quite a bit, you can get him at a very, very deep discount right now. Kansas City, I'm trading away Travis Kelce. I said this all offseason long. I wasn't going to draft him because there are so many options in this Kansas City offense. I don't think he's going to be force-fed the ball. They want him to stay healthy. And then when the playoffs come around, they're going to unleash him and try to win a 3rd straight Super Bowl, maybe try to sell high on name value right now. Because so many tight ends struggled in week 1, a lot of people aren't going to discount Travis Kelce. It should be pretty easy to go to your league mates and say, listen, all the tight ends had a down week. Travis Kelce, you already know what he is. Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback. He's going to bounce back for sure. When in reality, he's going to be splitting targets like he never has in his life. Then we go down to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go after Devontae Adams. And they cannot not force feed him the ball more as the season goes on. At some point, he's going to get pissed off, and usually the squeaky wheel gets the grease. He's going to get more targets, which in turn means more production. Maybe another guy you can get super, super cheap if you try to sell the fact that the Raiders offense probably just isn't going to be that great. Plus, they're going to spread the ball around to the likes of Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Try to get Adams for cheaper. But right now, I'm also watching Zamir White. You can't really trade him. He doesn't have a whole lot of value right now, and you don't really want to trade for him because Alexander Mattison actually looked better than him in week 1. Now we go down to the Chargers. I am trading away J.K. Dobbins, and a lot of people may not understand that, but this dude has had every major injury in the book. His knee looks like a transformer. It's got bumps in places that knees aren't supposed to have bumps, and then we saw him with that huge run in week 1 where he just ran out of gas and could not make it. Is he going to start the season hot? Probably, which means his value is going to be higher than it ever will be all season long. If you've had a running back with a torn ACL and a torn Achilles, it's only a matter of time if you can sell high on J.K. Dobbins. I don't know if his value is going to get much higher, maybe even after this week, because they got a great matchup going up against Carolina. Then for the Rams, try to go get Puka Nacua. Somebody probably spent a first-round pick on Puka, and now they are freaking the F out. Now, when I say trading for Puka, I'm not trading one of your starting players for him. He's going to be on your bench probably till week 6 or 7. But a lot of this has to do whether or not you have an IR slot on your team as well. Can you trade your league mate, a player that he can actually start? In return, you get Puka. You can throw him on your IR. You don't necessarily need him right away. You can pick up another player off of waivers to fill that bench spot, and then when he returns, you got another stud wide receiver, which will then bring us down to 3 teams who, honestly, we're not going to do a whole lot with. The Miami Dolphins. Nobody out there is trading Devon Achane just yet, or Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, not happening. In Minnesota, same type of thing, really. It's Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson. No one's really trading those guys after a good week 1. New England, the offense overall was horrible outside of Ramondre Steven's season, and nobody is trading him. So what about New Orleans? And actively, I'm going after Chris Olave. He didn't have a big week 1, but he did not have to have a big week 1. They got out to a lead so early against a poor Carolina team, they didn't need to force him the ball all 4 quarters. You have to imagine that he's going to lead this team in targets, and he could be a nice discount right now. You can kind of sell the fact that, oh, here we go again, right? Derek Carr not looking the way down the field of Chris Olave, similar to last year. Try to get him at a little bit of a discount. The Giants, not overly interested. I thought about Malik Neighbors, but he could be one of those boomer bust type guys coming off a somewhat down week. Can't really sell him just yet. The Jets, I'm selling Allen Lazard. The dude went off in week 1. You can go out there to your league mates and say, listen, he is back with Aaron Rodgers, and look what he did in week 1. He had 2 touchdowns. Well, one of them wasn't even thrown by Aaron Rodgers. Go out there and try to sell high on Allen Lazard right now. The Eagles, nobody out there is trading Saquon Barkley or A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith just yet. Dallas, go dare, because right now I'm feeling so fancy, doesn't have a lot of value, so we'll skip on Philly this week. Pittsburgh, I'll go out and get Najee Harris. We know Jaylen Warren is not 100% healthy, and Najee is going to be a 20-plus touch-a-week guy. Does that mean he's going to be a top 10 fantasy running back? No. Probably not. But if he can be your running back 3 or 4, it is great depth to have. But then we're also going to watch George Pickens. Now, the quarterback situation is probably going to bounce all over the place all year long, whether it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. But what we did see is a lot of inconsistencies in this Pittsburgh offense to start the year, and it looks like George Pickens, instead of just getting a ton of targets, a lot of catchable balls, they're still trying to force him the tough 50-50 ball, which he's great at, but that's going to make his ceiling a little bit more boom or bust. Plus, can this team score more touchdowns this year? We're watching closely on George Pickens. For San Francisco, pay attention. Eye contact, focus, open your ears, get a notepad, get a pencil, a pen, get something. Because if you need a running back, or you have Christian McCaffrey, you are not trading Jordan Mason. You will not do it. Don't you dare do it. But if during the draft, you drafted Jordan Mason in one of the last rounds, and honestly, you still have a pretty solid team where you don't quote-unquote need Jordan Mason, I am going to the Christian McCaffrey owner and trying to get anything you possibly need off his roster. His value right now is through the roof, especially since they've come out and said, hey, it could be a few weeks potentially for Christian McCaffrey. You got to remember, that person invested their first overall pick on the guy. His season is already spiraling out of control. If he can get Jordan Mason, I would almost guarantee he would give up almost any other piece on his roster. What is it you need? Where are you weak at? Can you get better as an overall team if you trade away Jordan Mason? But like I said, if you own Christian McCaffrey, or if you are in desperate need of a starting running back, do not trade Jordan Mason just yet. If he's a luxury to you, that's where you try to do it. Then we go down to Seattle. Give me some DK Metcalf. Geno Smith actually looked a lot better in week 1 than what he did majority of the time last season, which means DK is going to have better matchups in the future, and he should see better volume. How about Tampa Bay? I'll go out and get Rachaad White. Sure, he's inefficient AF. But in case you didn't notice, Tampa Bay's overall offense is pretty freaking good, and they're going to find ways to get the ball in the end zone. Now, while he's not going to kill it on the ground, he's definitely going to rack up receptions each and every week once again this year. Which then brings us to Tennessee. Nothing we're really doing in Tennessee right now. Tony Pollard had a good week. Tajay Spears not overly used. DeAndre Hopkins not 100%. Calvin Ridley didn't really raise his ceiling at all this past week, so we're waiting to see on Tennessee. And then Washington, the Commandos. I'm still going out there and getting Terry McLaurin. People are pissed off that he didn't get hardly anything in week one, myself included. But Jaden Daniels is going to improve. They've already come out and said, hey, listen, we don't want him to run that much each and every week. His biggest issue in week one is he felt the pressure, and instead of going through his progressions and forcing the ball to his receivers, he just tucked it and ran. Now, he found success on the ground in week one, and that's why he continued to do it, but you have to think as the season goes on, Terry McLaurin's going to be getting more and more looks, and then we're actively watching Austin Eckler. Now, he still looked pretty efficient in week one. Don't get me wrong, he didn't look bad at all. But Brian Robinson Jr. looked really, really good, and they even included him in the passing game just as much as Austin Eckler. Now, even though Eckler played pretty well, if he has a big game at any point in the next couple of weeks, he may be one of those guys that we try to sell high on because Brian Robinson looks so good. All right, so there you go. We've gone through all 32 NFL teams. You got some names to think about, some names to go look at out in your leagues. Just remember, we don't make trades that we don't win. Now, like I said, I'm going to try to pay super close attention to the comment section of this video. I want to know how much you guys love this content, or if there's something else that you would rather have on a weekly basis. But we greatly appreciate the support, and we're looking forward to a great week 2 in fantasy football where we can all dominate once again. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here today. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and then most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headline Nation, we running the game.